Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another weekly intention. In this video, we'll map out the week by covering the key economic events and the highest probability opportunities across the forex market alongside the indices. The goal isn't to predict the market, it's to be prepared. Let's get into this week's plan. Starting off from the forex factory, we have CPI this week. So the protocol for trading CPI is to focus on the second half of the week since we've got no news on Monday and no news on Tuesday. But I will be looking to take a trade if we should get a displacement towards the draw on liquidity, and I will be able to position myself properly for a move. On Wednesday, the focus is on New York post CPI release. And on Thursday, I'll be looking to take a trade during London session alongside taking a trade during New York session. I won't be looking at the charts on Friday. Let's just dive right in right now. Starting off from DXY on the weekly chart. Last week we had no real expansion towards any side of the curve. Uh, we just had this. We had an expansion higher, traded into I think a 6 hours imbalance here. Then we displaced away from the level, came lower, and closed here right here. So we had no real move on either side, but we were able to close bearish as well. This week, I'm looking to take a position, so I will be favoring the sell side of the curve. From the weekly perspective, we're kind of in an impasse. Sorry about that. We're kind of in an impasse where we could either see price displace into the weekly imbalance to go lower, or we can sync with the higher time frame perspective and just displace higher, inverse on the weekly imbalance we got here. So if I should drop down to the daily, on the daily time frame, as you can see, we've just been consolidating. We've been moving sideways with no real movement to either side of the curve. So there's not really nothing to work with on the daily. I will just be able to pin the daily imbalance out as a potential draw on liquidity if we have this low swept out. Moving down to the 6 hours. On the 6 hours time frame, as you can see, we've been consolidating here in alignment with the daily time frame. Currently, we're trading inside a 6 hours imbalance, which could determine the move for the rest of the week. If we should inverse this, a close above this level here, I will be looking for DXY to run the previous weekly highs alongside tagging this daily imbalance. But given the displacement we just had with the recent 6 hours candle, I will want to see price take out the previous weekly low first before we see any real expansion higher. So either way, the best thing to do right now is wait for CPI to get a real sense of direction of where price might be heading to. Having that said, if we should have an SMT during the London session tomorrow or New York session tomorrow and we're still trading inside the 6 hours imbalance, I'll be looking at the XY for a potential run to the previous weekly low, and EU taking out the previous weekly high with GU as well following that. Having that said, I don't think I'll be going down to the lower time frame on DXY. Let's take a look at EU as well. Start from the weekly time frame. On the weekly perspective, we still have something similar. We inverse the weekly bearish imbalance where I want to see lower prices from with last week, with the 2 weeks. I think the last week of July, we had this impulsive move closing that out, and last week came in and we had this candle with no real displacement to either side while leaving this weekly imbalance. From here, I can't really tell if we're going to be taking out the buy side liquidity first or the sell side liquidity first. All I can do is go to drop down to the daily time frame to see if we can get something to work with. From the daily perspective, we've been moving sideways as well. We have price just moving sideways inside this daily imbalance here. We have this daily imbalance here that's unmitigated, and we've been trading inside there ever since. We could see a push lower from the level into the weekly fair value gap we have here. Alongside, if we are to see a deeper retracement, we should be getting a deeper retracement into the daily imbalance as well here, just as I said on DXY. But if I should drop down to the 6 hours now, you're currently trading inside a 6 hours bullish imbalance where we could use as an area of support for higher prices. But us closing out this will automatically mean I want to see price tag the weekly imbalance here, potentially running these short-term lows we've got here as well, and tagging the daily imbalance down here. So from the level we're currently trading in, as either I want to see price simply just expand, clearing out this should be the previous weekly high here. Yeah, clearing out the previous weekly high, then a possible move lower to the weekly imbalance, or if we should have a closure of the 6 hours imbalance, I want to see price simply just tag the previous weekly low and as well take out this liquidity and final run into the daily imbalance. A full closure of the weekly imbalance will be what I'm expecting. So right now, leaning towards the buy side because we're currently respecting the 6 hours imbalance. And if we should have something else to work with, I'll do well to update the Discord on that. Let's go. I need to look at GU as well. On GU, on the weekly perspective, we still have price delivering from a weekly bullish imbalance towards the buy side liquidity at the 1.35582 level. We're quite a few pips away from that, and we could see some displacement while having the 6 hours, the 6 hour run on the buy side liquidity on EU and the sell side liquidity on DXY. I should drop down to the daily. On the daily time frame, we have this daily imbalance we could work with to support higher prices. If we're to see this retracement, we could get something like this into the area for a potential run higher into the buy side liquidity, taking out the 1.35582 level. An inversion of that level of the daily imbalance up there will mean I want to see price use the level as an area of resistance for lower prices from there. So if we should close below this level, maybe we have a push lower and we close below this level, I want to use that area as an area of resistance to see price, to hold price lower into the daily imbalance we have here, the daily unmitigated imbalance here. If we were to see lower prices, we could get a feel of this as well. But I doubt that will be happening this week, and we'll just work with same price, either tag the daily imbalance we have here or trade all the way to the buy side. Unfortunately, this week I'm moving with two buyers, and I'll be reacting to what the market is doing during my kill zone. So you just have to pay attention to the Discord and try to follow up the daily hypo for what I'll be doing. I should go down to the 6 hours. On the 6 hour time frame, we don't have a clear imbalance to work with here, but we do have something here. A deeper retracement into the 6 hours imbalance would also mean I still want to see higher prices, provided we've not inversed the level here. So, if we've not closed out the daily imbalance with the daily closure, we could get something like this. A trade into the 6 hours imbalance for potential run higher into the buy side liquidity. So I'm highly favoring buy side on GU and EU, and I'm favoring lower prices on DXY. Should that change, I will do well to update the Discord on what I think should be happening in the market. And more patience is needed to see where we're headed to. But currently, we're not in sync with the higher time frame as well, because on the monthly time frame, I'm expecting lower prices, and the weekly is printing bullish. You all know, as you all know, this is not the best condition to find yourself in as a trader, but we will do well to utilize what we have and make the best out of it. Looking at NQ, because we have price currently trading. I think NQ right now is currently playing cash up to ES. ES has already printed a new time high, and YM as well. Um, but we'll fail to do that on NQ. So the focus will be on NQ, where we have quite some interesting level to look at price from. From the weekly perspective, sorry about that. From the weekly perspective, last week closure was heavily bullish. We had this heavy expansion to the relatively equal highs there, the clean equal highs there, with the buy side liquidity at 30,077.75 level. And I wanted to see that high getting swept out, whereby on the daily we still have price expanding higher without no proper retracement into an imbalance or anything. We created the daily imbalance last week, and we had this heavy expansion away from the level on Friday, where I wanted to see the next candle come in and continue the expansion higher to take out the relatively equal highs we have here. Unfortunately, we had a bearish closure, leaving this daily imbalance as well here. Looking at this, we could get looking at this. Hold on. Yeah, looking at this, we could get the reaction I'm looking for from this level, and I don't expect price to come back here anymore. Uh, but I'm expecting the Tuesday expansion to be from this level direct. I think the low of the day should be in as well, whereby we're going to be expanding, taking out these highs, but I want to be pressing my luck on these highs for now. But we're still extremely bullish, and we're currently witnessing a market maker buy model. This is the sell side of the curve, and we're seeing price just invalidating bearish PDRs and supporting bullish PDRs. Using the 6 hours, the 6 hours is alignment with everything, where we have the 6 hours imbalance, and I'm expecting a tag on that gap for higher prices. Of course, if we don't get that, I will be comfortable taking a trade if we're still around there during 9:30 open for something to run this highs alongside possible higher prices from the level. With that being said, I wouldn't be saying much on YM and ES, because there's really not much to say on that, and the focus still remains on NQ for the rest of the week, where I want to just see buys, buys, and buys. Thank you for staying till the end of the video, and do well to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.